Hey guys, the reviews are in and most Baytubers are now playing Beyblade X Zone. So I wanted to wait a few days. I was waiting for my screen capture card, which for the Nintendo Switch, it's a whole thing. I am currently playing on the American version of the Nintendo Switch game, if you can't tell. I bought it on release. I've been playing here and there as it has come up. I know that a lot of my friends, Beyblade X, Nazuma, a lot of them are doing playthroughs of the first 100 floors. I think Blade Bay is actually online now. I'm gonna wait until I until I finish the game, until I get to the 100th floor, get all the parts until I go online. So unfortunately, I'm not gonna be doing online battles just yet. But there are things that I do want to talk about with this game, just so we can cover the basics for us to take this game and go further. So first things first, I absolutely love this game. I think I've said it on here before, but if not, I'll just go ahead and reiterate. I love fighting games, but in particular, I have even simplified that to going back to finding fighting games from the Game Boy Color era, where it's only 2 buttons, but the mechanics are more advanced than a Nintendo Entertainment System, like the original NES, right? So on the Game Boy Color, there is actually a Japanese-only Transformers fighting game that I adore. There's a Street Fighter game, but the Street Fighter game doesn't have PvP, which is kind of the heart and soul of fighting games. Then there are some other Japan-only releases. Gaming culture is different in Japan, so I guess a lot more people were fighting each other versus in America, where we all just wanted to play Game Boy Color in our vehicles where no one else had them. So the PvP on those games is great, but you can only use 2 buttons. There's typically like a punch button and a kick button, right? And then you have your D-pad. Now, the reason I bring that up is because Beyblade X Zone really gives us 3 buttons to work with during battle. One is honestly just a launch button. You just catch it as the timer comes across for your launch. That could be replaced with either of these 2 other buttons. And then you're using L and R, which is great, but I wish we could button swap because I don't like using L and R. I am using a Nixie Hyperion Pro. I don't know if you guys can see that, but I have buttons locked into the back. And these are my L and R buttons. I use these sometimes, but mostly I'll use these just because in your hand, it's more ergonomic that way, right? That's why that controller was designed that way, which I'll do a full thing on the Nixie Hyperion Pro later. But I really like if I could switch it to these buttons, the face buttons. Like I said, you use A to launch, but I would really like if I could just use A and B to go between my counter and my attack buttons. So once you launch the blade, it kind of goes in its own trajectory. You use your 2 sticks to align, right? To align what your launch is, which is pretty cool. You have left stick, which is moving, around the stadium, and then your right stick, which is your tilt or your angle. And those 2 things play a huge part in where you're placing your blade. So first, let's get into placing our blade. Something just popped up across the screen. We'll get into placing the blade. I think that's a huge piece and again, I haven't played online, but as I'm going up through the ranks, placing your blade is a huge piece of just the entire game. And you can have one set route if that's what you want, but typically with attack, I like to run one way. With stamina, I like to run one way. Defense and balance, it's just whoever I'm facing, right? Whatever I think that the opponent is going to bring. So this puts you in place for your follow-on attacks. So once you place the blade, it's going to run that initial movement until you can shift what you want the movement to be using that counter. So if I'm running, the auto loop that it's just going to do no matter what. If I don't touch any buttons, it'll run through its course. But if I shoot a certain way, and I think that I'm gonna hit, but the opponent launches a different way, I can then hit the counter button, which will shift my trajectory. So I can come up this way, shift, and now go up that way, versus coming up just one way. So that is a thing that I like. But really, you set it up with your game plan in play, right? With attack types, I like to go wide, right? Kind of circle around the middle, because I like to spam that attack button, especially with my attack types. And we'll get into, let's go in order. So first we have the trajectory, right? And that's done with your sticks. Then you launch. Obviously you want a perfect launch. That's just the name of the game. But while you're playing, counter actually is one of the hardest things to learn, but the thing I think you should learn first, because it holds so much power and weight because it's hard to time. So if you wait just until you see that little explosion where your opponent has hit attack, and then you try to, react and hit counter, you're already too late. It's already happened. Now, where I find counter to be most successful is if you're reading ahead to your opponent's trajectory. If you notice they grab that X line and they're coming around, now you want to time it just like the initial pendulum, right? You want to time it to where you hit that counter as they're coming to crash. Or the harder one, in my opinion, is when you're both circling around the middle. Now, this happens a lot with my defensive bays or my stamina bays. So if I'm in the middle and they start circling around me, I've got to try and read when they're going to either make contact on their own, or when I think it would be most advantageous for my opponent to go ahead and spam that attack button. So the counter is the hardest thing to learn, and the best place to learn that is in that bay battle net. So that's on the floor level of the game, right? Don't learn it you can practice on the floor, or on the floors, but when you're going to practice counter in PvP, don't do that. Go ahead and know how to counter prior to and when to counter, and practice those on battles that don't really matter in that bay battle net on the floor level of the tower. So going through, attack is pretty easy. You can spam it, or you can try and time it to make them more effective, right? So that's the 2-button attack system. You have a counter button and an attack button. Now, the part of the game that I guess a lot of us are kind of iffy on is the rock, paper, scissors of, that skill tree. You have the rock, paper, scissors, and it is what it is. Now, you can try to play mind games. Sometimes they'll light up saying that some are more effective at times than others, and you can try and read your opponents and what they may or may not pick. But they're also trying to figure out what you're going to pick. So really, you have a 33% chance, right? You choose one, they choose one. It is what it is. So we can do that, or, we can just play through it. So all that to say, I love the basic controls of Beyblade X Xone. First thing you want to learn is how to counter. That would be my first piece of advice, my first tip would be to learn how to counter. The second would be learn what your trajectory for each blade should be, because they are going to be different. You don't want to run an attack type straight into the center, because they're not going to be in the center, and then it makes it harder for you to go ahead and spam those attacks, or you're just losing a lot of stamina. So watch what you're doing. Then attacking is fairly simple, but I would say learning how to attack properly would be the third thing that I would put on there, because it's the easiest to learn, countering being the hardest, trajectory coming after that. I would say learn those things first, then go ahead and throw attacking on top. Now, I am halfway through the game at this point, at the point of this recording. So I'm going to keep playing through, and as I learn more tips and as I develop in my blader skill on the game, I'll go ahead and I'll share more tips with you. The things that I'm looking into now are skills, right? The skills on every blade are going to be different. They change with each blade. It doesn't matter. It could be a Sphinx cowl in 8 different colors or the same color. They're going to have different skills. So again, we are searching now for that perfect blade to run in PvP. I am looking for a list of those skill sets with their power outputs. So if you guys know that, please go ahead and comment down below, share with the community so that way we can all get better. I don't know if I would personally want to put a list together. That's a lot of effort and I'm doing a lot of things. So I don't know if I would want to put that list together, but I would love to find a list. If not, then I'm just going to spam the attacks that I think work best or look the best to me, work best for my setup. So all PvP matches are done in 3v3, so go ahead and find your 3 blades that you want best. Ratchets, they're pretty much all the same. Bits, pretty much all the same, just different colors. The blades are the ones that carry the skills, so go ahead and find your perfect blade and then go ahead and match it up. Not all ratchets and bits are the same. The ratchets and bits of the same type, it doesn't matter color, right, or which bit it is, they're all going to have the same stats. So that's what I've seen so far. If you guys have seen otherwise, please post a photo and let me know. But yeah, I am loving the game so far. I am running the International Gear Sports Tournament, and I may actually shift to a format that is done with Beyblade X Xone, with people recording their matches or whatnot, and then put that on the channel. Let me know what you guys think of that idea, obviously in the comments below, or should the International Gear Sports stay the actual physical blades and then run something separate for Beyblade X Xone? I would really like to see Beyblade X Xone push a little further than the initial reviews and people saying they love it. That's what all Baytubers are saying, that they love the game, but how long are they going to stay with the game? So that's obviously, like I've said in videos prior, that's going to be a community-driven thing. Even with us Baytubers, if you guys show support for this game and the views show that, the views, the comments, the likes, that is what shows support for Beyblade X Xone. If that's what you guys do, then obviously content creators will produce more of it and it'll gain more traction. But if you guys just watch the video and don't do anything, or you play by yourself, content creators are not going to put out more stuff because you're not fueling their fire. Now on this channel, I do things that I enjoy, noticeably the Beyblade X app I ran and nobody watched it, but I enjoy it. So I will post more and more on Beyblade X Xone, but if you want larger creators like Nazuma, like Blade Bay, like Zanky, to play this game more on stream or more, tournament type styles, you have to let us know. So, hey, thank you guys for watching this entire video all the way to the end. Thank you guys for your support for Beyblade X Xone. Comment, like, and subscribe for more content for other channels because I'm going to keep doing the same stuff. But hey, if you've made it to the end of this video, I hope you have an absolutely phenomenal day.